Peace. This is a Meat and Potato Social Production starring myself, the Water Alchemist, and today's topic for the occult family is why they don't want me. Now, I want to give out some examples and then some solutions about why a person or a job doesn't want you. So, with that, let's get into it. Now, the number one example is I remember reading Ebony, which was an African American publication in 1985. Smokey Robinson from Motown woke up one day next to his spouse, Claudette, who was in the Miracles, after 20 plus years of marriage and said he no longer wanted her and he was in love with someone else. No rhyme, no reason. The other example I want to lay out is from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith's character, Will, during, I think, the final season where he turned to his Uncle Phil and he said, "Why don't my dad want me anymore?" And even a basketball example with former Los Angeles Clippers guard Quentin Richardson when he was talking to Derek Coleman, who played with the New Jersey Nets. And he said, "How do you handle when no team wants you no more? How do you handle that? And what does it do?" It obviously, all three examples are going to send you into loss of confidence because we live in a society where your career defines who you are because it's status. The other thing is depression, and then your ego is just deflated, and then bitterness, sometimes even denial. And this is with all three examples because we live in a very competitive and animalistic world, and it's not getting no better. Another thing I want to talk about is that if you read any holy text, when a man and woman comes together, they're supposed to be one. They are going to battle some forces of evil, but they're competing because you don't have to be a social scientist or a mathematician to know that two will always be one. But yet you have people who are partners in the same house or married and they're competing against one another. And this is why a lot of times marriages and unions fail. The man and the woman are not supposed to compete against one another. You're supposed to motivate and be there for each other. And lastly, and more importantly, inspire. But instead, it's this empty competition. I'll show him. I'll show her. What are you getting out of that? So, what can you do? Well, the first thing is you have to become the hermit of the tarot. And that means that you have to go within because you forgot your purpose. So, by being alone, spending time with yourself, you find out your purpose and actualize it, or you find a new mountain to climb. Because the reality is this: people are at their best when their back is up against the wall. Why? Because then it activates qualities within you, such as nobility and courage. That's why you're going to have problems because the purpose of all this is growth and elevation. If the road is always so easy, what do you gain? Nothing, because you're not battle tested. So these are some of the things that you have to know. You cannot afford to live in fantasy land. Okay, this is not Disney. You're not going to wake up every day and love your job and love who you're with. That's it. You have to have pain because it forces you to appreciate your fleeting moments of pleasure. Never forget that. So, what's some keys that you can do? Well, when you're doing your shadow work, know this. One, shadow work is forever. Not a few weeks, not a few months, forever. So, what you do is you go within and you integrate your shadow. You are your shadow and your shadow is it. So the purpose is not to get rid of it, but to learn from it and embrace it. Deal with your triggers and don't always shame yourself. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't always beat yourself up. No matter how inane and silly it is when you draw something, and I've taught this in my earlier classes, draw a sentence of what triggered you or how you feel, even if it pertains to your childhood and why. Then draw a picture, and you don't have to be super artistic. After your sentence. Draw a picture next to it of how you feel, or how you saw that individual and how they made you feel, or even how you may have made them feel. Draw a picture next to it. And you can do shadow work, not only by yourself, but you can join a group and do shadow work if you feel that you would be better being around other people, because this is where a lot of people go wrong. You can't always think that it's just you. A lot of people are so ashamed and devalue themselves. They think that they're the only one that's going through this. No, there's always someone out there with a story, not just like yours or similar, but sometimes even worse. So never make the assumption, the egregious one I might add, that it's just you. It's not. Hear me now and believe me later. It's not just you that's going through it. So we live in a world that is set up to always find a way to defeat you. And one of the ways that they will try to defeat you is have you on this treadmill of self-doubt 24/7. Now, are you disposable? Absolutely. You're disposable. You don't believe me? Look at point systems, which are unrealistic. So what's juxtaposed with a point system? A high turnover rate. Wherever you have a point system at, there's a high turnover rate. So they're always waiting for the next thing. And then you have to factor in how much money they lose training a new employee. So again, competitive world, but there's healthy competition and there's unhealthy competition. And they're not going to tell you that. So when someone or something doesn't want you, you have to create ways to always stay one step of the game. You have to be a one-up when it comes to the game. And this is what it is. Is it a dangerous game? Absolutely. Is it a selfish one? Absolutely. But you still have to get creative. It's one thing to be comfortable in a marriage, but don't become so relaxed that you don't do things that will bring you and your partner closer. Because you have to remember this. Love waxes and wanes. That's not going to keep no relationship together. Spirituality does. That's one. Two, your job does not need you. As soon as they get the first opportunity, they're going to find a way to get you up out of there. And the third is with sports, the thing is, a basketball player once said this: don't let basketball use you. You use it. So get creative. So that's why they don't want you. So with that, that is your meat and potato associate for the day. I am the Water Alchemist. Be water, my friends. Peace.